Right folks, so here I have another Capcom board. It's hard to read here, it's actually upside down this way, but it's 1942. It was a cool shooter in its day. I really enjoyed playing it at the time. I think 1943 was probably better in that genre, but 1942 is still pretty good. So the board itself looks quite dusty. It probably needs a clean, which is what I'll do next, maybe before I power this on. And it came with a adapter that has a couple of pins disconnected. I had a quick look, very quick look. Actually, one of those was disconnected. This turned out to be ground, and here is player 2 left. The tab actually just broke right here, so I can't really even catch it to resolder it. So I'll probably have to make a new adapter at some point, but it'll do for the purpose of us restoring this guy if it needs to be. So do you know what? Oh, okay, well, look at that. Let's see, I don't know what's going on here. There's some crusty things happening there on this EEPROM. I'm seeing an EEPROM beside. Whenever you see an EEPROM beside two sound chips like that, it's probably the music chips. I see a Z80, Z80 here and here, so one of them is probably driving the music. Here we just have it's probably just the video board, you know, probably background and Sprite or something like that, and one of those is the program. We'll probably have a character from somewhere, but yeah, I'm gonna have to dig out the schematics, but I think the best thing to do for now is to just test this guy, see if it even boots, and see what the problems are, if any. It could be working, despite that I very much doubt that it works. First, it needs a solid clean. You never know. I mean, some of the board. Okay, we're booting. So, this should be black. This should be sort of 3D effect things. So we have background layers in there. There's some sprite issues there. Yeah, the fire. So we got image. Oh, okay, these parts are okay. This should say power, an explosion or something like that. So we probably have some RAM and ROM issues, or at least addressing. I would suspect the tile map. When we start, don't we have a okay, with music we should have sort of yeah, it's close enough. I don't think there was background music. There's music when you restart, isn't there? Yeah. But other than that, we shouldn't have any music while in game. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. So the music seems to be mostly working. We'll have to check with MIM despite all the crust here, but we probably have some ROM issues. I would suspect none of the backgrounds are displaying properly, so we probably have let me clean this board first. Reset all the ROMs. What I also will do is I will dump all these ROMs to check they are correct. Sound is working anyway. That's good news. I will and the board is booting, so it's just graphic issues really. Yeah, so let me dump all these ROMs, clean the board, and check that all the ROMs contain the right data, that none of them are corrupted. It might be the case that, you know, one of them is dodgy and is throwing the data bus all over the place, but it looks like it's hard to tell actually just from graphics. I would suspect it's mostly a data issue. The correct no, probably an address issue, because we have no corruption on individual tiles, so the wrong tiles are sort of being fetched. So Yeah, it's probably a address issue. This could be the addressing logic, but it's before diagnosing like that, it's really hard to tell. Anyway, let me clean this guy and get back to you. Here we are, the board is all clean now, so there's a couple of things I want to do as well here, is maybe change those caps because they don't look too healthy. And but other than that, it's nice and clean. And I've already powered on, so there's a couple of things here. So what happened is when I cleaned it, I actually removed the edge connectors. And when I put the edge connectors back, the board wouldn't start. I couldn't get it to start. And as you can see, it looks now much better. We actually have the background graphics. So these connectors here are all essentially all corroded. If I fiddle with them a bit, actually no, not anymore because I cleaned them. But I was getting all sort of graphic issues. So that was one of the problem actually with the graphics we had. It was the edge connector wasn't making good contact and wasn't displaying the background layer. So now we have the background layer. And as we can see, we're getting these, we've sprites that are sort of halves. If you remember that video I did on the CPS1 Street Fighter 2 board where the sprites were halved, well, we're getting the same issue here. You can see that we're missing half of the lines on that sprite. And interestingly, we're getting something similar on those bars that get displayed. So I wonder if because it's sitting on top of the background, if that's part of a sprite issue, an artifact of what's happening there. So we need to investigate that. But just looking at it, also we are getting the wrong sprites on some items. So I'd say we've multiple issues here. So let's dig into it. I would say we're getting something similar to what that Street Fighter 2 was doing. So there's some parallel processing of even and odd sprites, lines, and we're probably getting something like that on the sprite layer. The fact that it's not happening to the graphics would tell me that it's only happening to the sprite layer, and I would bet that if we looked at the schematics, we'd find sort of a circuit replicated somewhere, double. So let me dig out the schematics, maybe print them out, it'll be easier, and then look at what's going on. Well, there you go, indeed. So this is we've two RAMs here, and it's actually, you can see the same circuit here on one side and the other going into that one chip that handles everything then. And if you look, this is going to page 2.8, which I dug out here. This is our objects here, just being then processed centrally into this one chip. So this is sort of put together. This is looks like an OR gate with four lines that actually just decides whether they're on or off. So these two are connected. So it could be, I'd say we're going to focus on this area here first, see what's going on with our sprites. Why are we missing one, or either they're odd or even? We can maybe try and detect. So here we have the dip switch. If we press this one, it freezes the board. So it's kind of handy because we might be able to just see, although it's going to be hard to tell, lads. Let me reboot this guy. So there you go. I've managed to freeze the game on where I can sort of see the sprites. It looks like we have a 1 pixel starting here, and if I look here, the 1 pixel starting, this is a sprite sheet of the sprite, is it's on the first sort of sprite, but it depends where the box starts. It's going to be hard to tell. So at least I've narrowed down to a smaller part of the circuit, which is on the other side. So we have here the program with some graphics here of sorts. I've checked all the ROMs, they actually test fine. So on the other side, let me flip this then. There you go. So there's a lot of stuff here, but essentially this is our, with those two RAMs here, which correspond to the two that are here, and then these go into this what is it, 86 LS86 is the OR gate of sort, and then what are these, 173. So let me check. We've 186 here, with one here and one here. Oh yeah, they are H5 and J5. So indeed these are those two, and actually interestingly I see a sign here. Somebody's left a marker sign of sorts. Interesting. To check that. And then our 173s, there's 1, 2 here. There should be one around here. Here it is. So these 4 chips we need to check. There's also an H3 174 that is involved. I see that those two are Fujitsu. Straight away that raises sort of red flags for me. Fujitsu chips are notorious for failing and giving us all sort of stuff. There's 2 more here, and these are also 286. Actually there's 3 here. There's a few more. Interesting. So, you know, I might decide to change these anyway, just because. But first, we're gonna see if we see anything with the probe. And there's also a J3, a 257. So interesting. It's all in this sort of location here, which is perfect. We don't have to go far. Sorry, this location. So we're just gonna probe the legs individually and see if we get anything. Interesting. So I've been just probing the legs and on this RAM and checking with this guy if I see something similar. And here at pin 3, actually let me. At pin 3, we're getting this sort of square signal, very clean and sort of unusual, I think, because to show it, if I show the other signal to be able to see it, I'd have to increase the time base to this. But it came up here in this case as just flat high, which didn't make sense, because if I compare it to the pin tree on this chip, which should be doing the same thing but for the odd or even sprites, I get this, and I get this on the other one. So I have to lower the time base to see that it's not just like high. There's indeed a signal, but it's toggling very, very, very slowly indeed. So that's, I don't know, doesn't seem right. And this signal is coming from one of these 86 pin tree, and I started with this guy arbitrarily, to be honest. This is pin tree on A4. It's coming from pin tree on one of these, so I'm looking for the same signal, or it's connected to this 1, 2, 3. There it is. Is it just this one, or if I compare it to pin tree on the other chip? No, we're getting, yeah. That's very interesting. Okay. So, and indeed, actually interesting, if I bridge this signal, okay, might need to change this, and you know what, I'm gonna change this guy as well, because I just don't like the sight of those Fujitsu ICs. Alright, so change those to Fujitsu 86 here, and as you can see, that did flip all. So what I did then, I went to look at the next chips on the schematics going into the RAM, which is, by the way, I should have said from the start, I did check these lines where both of these are going, and these are toggling. So something else is happening before that. So I started checking the lines because I changed J5, so I'm looking at these 212.5, and these are coming from this guy here. And I did see that this fella here, that pin 15 is low and pin 14 is high all the time. or some form of high anyway. This should be high, slightly above 5. This is slightly under 5, but that's okay. If I compare it to the equivalent on the other side, this guy at F4, at F4 we have some activity on that pin 15, and we have some activity, a lot more, on pin 14. Let me see if I can change what's on screen if I piggyback something here. Yeah, so I have a chip piggybacked here, and if I check pin 14 for instance, I'm seeing activity, and oh, it just came back, but those bars were gone there. I swear. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, come on, focus. Yeah, pin 14 has activity, and pin 15 has something as well. It's hard to say when you piggyback. It's not a great best method to test stuff, but it'll give you an indication. So, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and replace this guy as well. At least it'll get rid of those bars. Well, I'm hoping, and then we can see what's going on with our sprites. Okay, so I got that 173 fixed, well, replaced, sorry, here, and well, it seems to have not only just gotten rid, of, come on, focus, gotten rid of our bars, but also it's fixed our sprite issue, well, the bars on the sprite. So that's great. So we still have, well, we have one other issue that we started with. You can see it displaying the wrong sprite. So I'm just gonna have another look at the schematics and see what I can do there. The only problem is we seem to have lost this sound. So I'm not sure what's going on. I need to diagnose it. I'm not surprised though. If these boards haven't been powered in a while, this can happen. It's not unusual for ICs just to fail. What's interesting here is that this IC that had failed was not one of those Fujitsu ICs. I see a few. I'm very tempted to replace them, but I suppose we'll deal with them when they fail, not if. Usually they fail in batches, so if one IC of a certain type, like this one, these 86 ones, if one of them fail, usually you replace the whole lot of them because they would have come from the same batch. Just wanted to show you my little tester is indeed saying this chip was faulty. Well, we knew that because it's fixed. Anyway, let's check our sprite issue. So this is the section here that deals with this sprite. It's these guys here, and we got two banks of two EEPROMs, so these and these, or it could be this and this. Anyway, the address lines are all connected, but the data lines are going, well, to our two banks that we saw afterwards. But here, so the question is essentially, well, we know the EEPROMs are good because I checked them, so the issue could be happening after or before, you know, in a nutshell. So the best thing to do, I suppose, is to see, look at what's happening. So we're essentially getting, we're not getting corruption on the existing sprites. So there's a few sprites that are good. It's only a few that look like it's the wrong sprite being picked. So these are all sprites for something else. You can see Capcom stuff, but it's the wrong one being selected. If it was indeed a problem after on the data line, so after the right sprite has been selected, but it gets corrupted after, we would see just garbled stuff. Typically, anyway, would you see sprites that aren't technically sprites? They'll be all corrupted. The fact that they're not corrupted, but they're the wrong sprite would seem to indicate that it's the wrong address being looked up. So typically we'd have, let me see if I can draw a very quick thing. I have a yellow pen. I'm not sure that'll work here, but yeah, okay, fair enough. So we have our CPU and we have address whatever going for our graphic RAMs. or video RAMs, where all our stuff is, our screen essentially is drawn. So it's drawn in RAM. I apologize for the poor writing here. It's drawn in RAM, and then it gets looked up in ROM, and then it goes to RGB. In a nutshell. And we got circuits and things in between, but this is what happens. So it gets drawn in RAM, sort of without knowing exactly what is going to be displayed, but once it's drawn, the circuit goes and look up in ROM for what it wants and needs to display. So the fact that the wrong thing is being displayed tells me that it's not happening after, but it's happening either somewhere there. It could happen in RAM as well, but I somehow doubt it. If it was in RAM, it probably would look up the wrong address. It could happen here in RAM as well. So I suppose we're going to focus on this part of the circuit for now. So we've got N3 and M3, which are in an M here. So I'm going to probe these two guys and see if we get anything else. And if not, this is coming from 5858. So here we'll have to look at all these 283. These are adders, so they would be used to sort of build up the sprite. Is that correct? And these are 157, and these would be the multiplexers, data selectors. So data comes in here in these 4 lines, and only one is selected depending on what we need. Could be a number of things, but let's start probing here, see what happens, and if it checks out fine, we'll continue on to this part of the circuit, all the way to RAM here. Okay, well, so that didn't take long. I started with this one, and we have pin 7 that is just stuck low, and we have pin 9 that is stuck low as well. And if you look here, pin 7 and 9 of these are the outputs. So we get stuff coming on the input, but nothing is selected on the output. It's low all the time. If I just, I got pin 7. If I bridge it with pin 6, pin 7 and pin 6, you see to restore some of the sprites properly. Wrong sprites, correct sprites. Sorry, it's all blurry. Wrong sprites, correct sprites. Wrong sprite, correct sprite. Anyway, so this guy needs to go as well. So let's change that and see if that fixes our issue. And there you go. We knew that already, but that LS153 is faulty as well. Okay, let's keep going. There you go. We have our new F153 in place here, and well, look at this. We got all our sprites back. Fantastic. So happy about that. Now, okay, well, I guess now is time to address the sound issues. Alright, so this is our sound schematics. Here we have the Z80 here that controls the the sound that drives those two AY 38910 chips. So this is our Z80 here. Our two chips. We have a RAM here and a EEPROM here. Indeed, EEPROM and RAM. And in between here we have 138. Can't remember what this is by heart. I should know by now. And we have these 374s on the data bus as well. So there must be some input coming from the CPU whenever I'd say whenever you press a button or something like that. It probably controls the sounds that is generated by external inputs, you know, like I don't know, fire and things like that, and credit and that kind of stuff. So we've got our address bus here going to the RAM and ROM. That's expected. Our data bus here is tied to these. And this is going to, again, RAM and ROM, and finally our sound chip. So let's just see what we're getting here. Is there outputs on these and all that kind of stuff. So let's power this. Alright, that's kind of interesting. These should be our sound output. So channel 3, and we have channel 1 and 2 here, but we've absolutely nothing. It's completely dead coming out of here. Interestingly though, if I look at the data bus, we do have inputs, but if you can see, it's not quite going to 0, it's not quite going to 5 either. It's somewhere in between, so I wonder, have we stuff that is generating sort of this weird signal on the data bus? So it's hard to know at this stage, because all these I checked all these data lines and they show the same symptom, and it could be, I'm gonna assume that it's something that generates the signal that is causing this. So it could be either the ZAT or these guys preventing from going high or low, or the EEPROM as well. It's hard to know. I checked the EEPROM already, actually, in my tester, and compared that to MAME, and it came up fine. So I mean, I have to assume that the EEPROM is fine, and because this is not socketed. By the way, both those chips don't have any output. If it was only one, I probably would assume that the other one is faulty, but it's unlikely the two of them are faulty at this stage. So I might just see if I can pull out this ZAT and test it, put it on a socket and change it anyway. I don't like doing that because it's not the easiest job on this board. It's actually quite tricky to remove, because it's so, I don't know, is it corroded or just, yeah, and the holes are very, very small as well, so it's kind of hard to remove all the solder and pull out the chips. But I'm gonna try that first, see what we get. Oh yeah, and by the way, in case you're wondering if it's our amplification circuit, it's not. If I bridge this output with something that's toggling on the data line, you can hear we're getting a signal. So it's not that. It's something on the data bus. I think that weird signal we're getting is preventing from those chips to getting a clean signal and triggering our output, our SAN output. So let's change this guy. Alright, so this has been quite baffling side of things, this sound issue. Essentially I'm getting no output on these guys here. So I went ahead and socketed the ZAT, thinking it could be a problem with that. Tested the ZAT that was there, and it tested fine. Then I went and it's stuff I wanted to do. It's usually better to have sockets on these big chips. So I socketed the RAM here and the two sound chips, so I could just test them separately, and they are fine. In fact, I replaced the RAM chip altogether, but the other one was fine. So I initially thought my funny signals were coming, because that was the only thing remaining on the data bus, directly connected on the data bus. It was coming from these two guys. So I pulled them out, and they tested fine as well. Alright folks, so a few weeks have passed, and I haven't had time to work on this. I just sat there today. Essentially, let me recap for my own sake. You've probably just seen the previous video or segment on this, so you're probably more up to date than I am. But on my own stuff, what I ended up doing to fix that sound issue is desoldering the ZAT, the EEPROM. No, the EEPROM was actually socketed. The RAM and the sound chips, just to test them. These actually were all fine. I replaced them with known good parts, and they were fine, so I put them back in. And the EEPROM, I actually just tried a new EEPROM just in case, and no change. I was not getting any sound, so I started looking at the at the data bus, because interestingly the data bus, well, not interestingly, of course, the data bus is shared by the EEPROM, the ROM and the EEPROM and the Z80. And these latches here, these latches are coming from the main program. So whenever something is triggered, like you start a new game or you fire a shot or something like that, it triggers a sound and sends that to these guys. You can see the data bus here, coming from the Z80 as well, coming from here, going or being shared into the RAM, into the EEPROM there, and into those sound chips, those two sound chips. And I was getting a sort of crunch signal, which was really weird, so I assume there was something wrong there. Well, I just I took those two guys out, those two latches, replaced them, and no change. I'm still not getting sound. So I started looking at these enable lines, because what happened is I actually played with just a ground wire connected to ground, and I touched the output enable of these two guys, and randomly sometimes I would get a sound. So I was like, okay, the sound system isn't working. Those data lines, even though they're crunched, they're actually sending the right signal or levels for this to work. So it must be an enable issue, enable line issue. So those enable lines here are sent by the Z80, and they looked fine. But they're also sent to these various OR gates or AND gates, sorry, or is it NAND, whatever, to enable the chip, the sound chips. So I started looking there. I couldn't see anything dead, anything floating, but I changed them anyway, these two guys, and still nothing. Finally, the last one in this section that's connected to all the enabled stuff is this guy B9, that also enables the output for these latches. And I changed that. It tested faulty, but when I checked the legs, each pin, there was nothing floating again. So it must have been just I don't know, wrong, out of sync, or going freaky on me. But anyway, desocketed that, desoldered that, put a socket, put a new one back, and we've got, there you go, we got all our sound back. An explosion, and all the AND tunes and all that. So all our sound system is back. This guy was actually holding it hostage, and I actually played. I tried to piggyback pretty much every chip in this in this page. So this whole area, this whole bank, piggyback new chips, and that didn't do anything. So it was this guy after all. After all this, the last one I played with. D-socket. So lesson learned, this is the hard way to go about things, guys. Do not do it like that. I would have benefited from a logic analyzer this time. It was actually Porchy of jamarcade.com that posted something on my Discord that he'd fixed a, was it Guns N' Roses, Ghosts and Goblins, and it was a sound issue as well. And essentially, that's what he did. He used a logic analyzer, tied his trigger to M1, and then was able just to see everything happening properly. I have a small portable one for the laptop, but it's just messy to use, and I don't quite trust it. Maybe I should spend more time on this. But anyway, so we had a lot of stuff happening on this board with graphic issues. We had actually bad connectors. They were causing issue every now and then. I changed the connectors. I should probably change the connector sockets. Sorry, the cable. I changed the cable, but I should probably change the connector themselves at some point. But for now, it's working. And so with graphic issues, sound issues. So the way I fixed those graphic issues is probably the best way to go about it. But I was lucky that some of the signals were floating. Here, nothing, and it happened while I was fixing something else. So it's really interesting. But for now, happy out. We got another fixed board, a 1942. That's actually going to go into my 1942 cab, so it's perfect. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, there's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter just for random stuff. There's a Discord server with more and more folks joining, and geez, there's quite a lot of us in there now. And there's a Patreon as well if you want to help the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.